Hi, welcome to a review by Pishog. I'm doing a lot of update reviews today and I wish I could change up the setting, but all my Christmas presents are over there and there's literally like no room in my tiny bedroom. So I'm using the light as well that's coming from the window. But today I'm reviewing two books that are the final books in Dystopian trilogies. So the first Dystopian trilogy is the Divergent series, a very popular and known series. And the third book in that was called Allegiant. That's by Veronica, Roth, not Rossi, which sometimes I get mixed up with. And the other dystopian series is the Razorland series, which probably isn't as known as the Divergent one, but that's by Aguirre, and the final book in that was called Horde. So first I'll discuss Allegiant, but if you want to jump straight to the review on Horde, I'm sure the time's in the description box below. Divergent is very popular. It's coming out in a film now soon. And then Insurgent was the second book, and now Allegiant is the third book. So I'm happy to say I've been proven right again in that the third books in dystopian trilogies are always disappointing. It's true for Allegiant, and unfortunately it's also true for Horde, which I will discuss later. So I loved Divergent. I thought it was just an overall well-rounded, excellent book. Insurgent was more intense, more emotional, but I thought it was still really good. Allegiant, not as good. It just, I don't know what to say about that ending. Like, it was a shock, it was devastating, and it just made me mad. Like, overall the book is just not as good as the first two. The plot is quite similar, a little bit, but just not as exciting. I didn't like the setting. I thought it was very boring. I don't know, I didn't like the setting of it. And like, how many more rebellions can they have? It's verging on ridiculous now. Like, and then like the amount of rebellions they have in the first and second book, forget about that. But in this book, like, it's called Allegiant, but the actual group of Allegiant members are only in it at the beginning, and then it goes to all this genetically damaged thing, genetically damaged, genetically pure, and then that's what the story focuses on. It's like, why can't we just stick with the Allegiant rebellion instead of having these genetically damaged ones rebel as well? It'll make sense when you read it, because that's what the characters in the outside of this, you know, at the end of the second book we realise it was like a social experiment, and they get outside that, and then they find the scientists and all that, and they find out there's people who are genetically pure and genetically damaged, and then there's kind of like a war between the two, and I didn't really like that plot point. And as well, this book is narrated by both Tobias and Tris. I did almost forget her name. So that's a different thing. Tobias wasn't as a likeable character when you read from his point of view. This happens a lot with main characters, I think. Like, they're more mysterious and badass and likeable when you don't know every thought in their head, and when you read from Tobias' point of view, he just seems less macho, and he's just more whiny and afraid, and you're like, oh, shut up, Tobias. Tris, I think she's a great character. She's great in this, and she has a brilliant, heroic ending, and I think, she's so good, but Tobias wasn't as good in this book. It's unfortunate. It was just a disappointing end, and it actually makes me less excited for the film, because I know it's going to be a disappointing third film if they do end up making it. That's a pity. Like, the one thing I said at the end of Insurgent was that I want some happiness in the next book, and you don't really get any happiness in this book. It's just, it kind of depressed me reading it. So it's sad. Like, it was good. I think I gave it 3 stars. It was good, but I mean, it wasn't as good as the first two, and it just left me a little bit disappointed. So that's my spoiler-free review on Allegiant. If you want to hear my spoiler review, and I suggest you only continue watching if you haven't read Allegiant, because there's a big spoiler in it. So if you don't want to watch the spoiler review, switch off now, or else jump to the review on Horde. Okay, so the big, dramatic, devastating ending, heroic ending, was Triss sacrificing herself for her brother. I think this gave a big chance for her brother to redeem himself, and like, because that's what that character needed. But no, she decided, like it was sad, like she couldn't send her brother in there knowing he was definitely going to die. But then she dies, and it's just like horrible and sad. And I didn't really believe it until Tobias saw her body, because you know, it was kind of like when she saw her mother, that could have been, you know, going into unconsciousness. But no, that was her dying, and it was just devastating. And I think what made it sadder is that, you know, at the end it was 2 years later, and all her friends and everyone is still alive, got to move on with their lives and be happy. And then just knowing that she died, she didn't get that happy ending. I just felt really bad for her. And Tobias, he's still alive. And yeah, I just didn't like the plot. It was just, it wasn't as interesting, and there was no relations for me to get into in it. And yeah, I thought like the author had plenty of things to focus on, and she kind of brought in too many new things towards the end. And I don't really have, I think it was really sad when Uriah died as well. That was really sad. Like, it just, oh my god, like, couldn't get more depressing. So yeah, I am looking forward to the film. I hope it's really good. But just the fact that people who never read the books are like, oh, I can't wait for the second and third film. And it's just like, it's just going to be a depressing third film. It's the same with Hunger Games. I'm shocked they actually turned the third book of the Hunger Games, which is the most depressing book ever, into 2 films. Like, I'm not even looking forward to the next Hunger Games film. But yeah, that's my review so on Allegiant. I loved what you thought about it, and thank you for watching. Okay, so now I'm going to do a review on Horde, which is the 3rd book in the Razorland series by Aguirre. So the first land was called Enclave, the second book was called Outpost, and they were really, really excellent books. Very different dystopian feel now to the Divergent series. This is more post-apocalyptic with zombie creatures, so it's kind of even more dark and harsh and intense. But I loved the first 2 books. And then the 3rd book, unfortunately, again, was disappointing and just wasn't as good as the first 2. Perhaps if the book was shorter and I didn't have to skim it as much, I would have rated it higher. It was just so long. I felt like I was never going to finish it. So like, I did have to skim it now and then just to get through it. I felt like I was reading it forever. Like, there isn't much of a plot in this one. Like, Deuce kind of forms her own army to fight back against the freaks, or the muties, or whatever you want to call them. So basically the whole plot of the book was the army goes out and battles some freaks, comes home, has a bit of a rest, with a description of mundane activities, and they go out and battle again. And that would just repeat and repeat and repeat. There's also a bit of disconnect in this book. Like, characters died so quickly in it, like in 2 lines, and then when they did die I didn't really feel anything, which was a pity. Also, things I really liked in the second book really bugged me in this book. Like, for some reason I loved Deuce's foster parents in the second book, but in this book it just kind of annoyed me how she was like hugging them, and like they were her parents, and there's this happy, cheesy, lovey-dovey family moment with these people she met like a few months ago. She was acting as if they were like her parents for life. And then they bring a new person to the family and they're like brother and sister and it's all happy. It's just, I don't know, it kind of bugged me in this book. Yeah, Deuce was less likeable for some reason. But, you know, it was kind of like a sweet romance in it, and I felt really bad for Stalker as well. Like, despite these negatives, I did like the ending, not the epilogue, the part before the epilogue. I thought that was really, it was just, you know, it was a nice ending. And the book did get exciting now and then. I mean, they're fighting for their lives, so it was thrilling. It was just quite boring in places, and just disappointing compared to the first 2. So that's my review on Horde. Now I'm going to do a quick spoiler review. So if you haven't read this book, I suggest you switch off now. Okay, so the ending was happy. Like Deuce and Fade both lived, which was good. And they were together and they were happy, and it was really sweet. I felt so bad for Stalker because I loved him in the second book, and he was really he was a great friend to Deuce. And then I just felt bad that in the third book he was barely in it, and Deuce felt she couldn't be friends with him because it wasn't fair to him. But I was like, he needs a friend, give him a hug or something. And then he dies, and it's just sad. There's a lot of characters to get to know in the third book. And I hate it when other characters develop romances too, and I feel like, the author wants to match off every character, Tegan had her own romance and things like that. There's a good few deaths, and as I said, there was a bit of a disconnect, so I didn't feel as much. I read Aguirre's 2 adult series, and I didn't like them. I thought they just weren't really good. So I was really surprised when I saw her YA series, which was so good. So I think this is the book where actually the bad writing is starting to come in a little bit, and that's where it came in, the disconnect. I didn't feel much, and it was just too long, and they kept battling and resting. It actually kind of reminded me of the Chaos Walking trilogy, which is an excellent series by Patrick Ness, in that the freaks kind of, they had a truce with them in the end, and they could talk, and they realised, they have feelings too, and so, I mean, it was a happy ending, but I don't think it was too much. It was an OTT cheesy ending, which is good as well. It just dragged out too much, and the same thing over and over and over. There wasn't much for plot, really. And that series is finished now too. So, there are my reviews on those 2 dystopian trilogies, which are ended now. I would reread the first 2, but probably not the third book in those series. And I don't know what you thought. Did you read 2 of them? Which one was your favourite? Which one wasn't your favourite? And that's that. So I say that will be my last review for today, because it's kind of getting duller now and the lighting isn't great. So thank you very much for watching. In case I don't do a review before Christmas, have a lovely Christmas, and tune in next time.